Originally released in August 2022, this is essentially a tiny camera perched atop a tiny gimbal. And because of this and all the software running in the background, it has quickly become one of my favorite webcams I've ever used. It just gets it, man. This is the Insta360 Link by Insta360. And if you haven't heard of that brand before, they're probably best well known for their 360 cameras. I love their 360 cameras, by the way. You can just get so many cool and unique perspectives and shots that you just can't get with any other kind of camera. A lot of it comes down to the hardware, but Insta360 are also really good at making software that allows you to use this thing easily and quickly. So they've taken that software prowess and stuffed it all into this little webcam here. But their approach to hardware is also really impressive with this product. You can attach it to pretty much any monitor you want with the monitor clamp here. And if that doesn't really float your boat, you can use the 3/4 inch screw on the bottom here to basically attach it to anything with a 3/4 inch mount, which is a lot of stuff. Add to that a 3-axis gimbal and a single plug and play USB-C cable to connect to your computer. And you've got a webcam that can basically be mounted anywhere and pointed in any direction. In terms of specs, it's certainly not the highest quality webcam on the market right now, but it is definitely amongst the top. It gets 4K 30 FPS, or you can drop it down to 1080p to get 60 FPS out of the thing. And that's what this entire video is recorded and published in right now. There are, of course, dual noise cancelling mics on the front of the webcam here, but as is tradition with most webcams, they don't sound particularly good, and there is a reason why I'm not going to keep using this audio. Let's switch back to the Rode mics. All of this is being captured on its 1/2-inch sensor, which is fairly small, but definitely good enough to capture all the detail needed for conference calls and internet streaming and basic content creation type stuff. It's not quite good enough to get heaps of depth of field, and it's not quite good enough for really low light scenarios. So I would avoid using it for that, but for most things, this 1/2-inch sensor is just great. It does the trick. So based on those specs alone and just how this looks right now, it's decent, but it's really not selling it to me. Like, there are so many really good webcams on the market right now that can get depth of field and are better at low light and just have bigger sensors. You can even just use most mirrorless cameras as webcams these days. It's really fighting hard in that space to stand out, especially when you look at the price. Yeah, that's 540 Australian dollars, and that is currently on sale. I have found it at some other stores for just under $500, so it can be bought for a little bit cheaper, but still, $500 is a lot of money to be spending on a decent webcam. But here's the thing, this isn't just any old webcam. If I tap it, it activates this mode. It starts to track me. It tracks my face. I can walk around this space anywhere I want to. It'll keep up and it'll show me basically walking around. It just keeps focus on me. How cool is that? I can even leave the room and, wait for a bit out here. And then when I come back in, it picks up my face and then it'll start tracking me around the space again. Perhaps something like this is worth an extra couple $100 over something like the Facecam Pro from Elgato. Anyway, let's jump into the desktop app. Down the bottom is where your main control sits. So you've got resolution. You can pick from these three here. You can't pick frame rate, which is a little bit weird, but you can pick that in OBS when you're using this to record like I am right now. Just remember that this is 30 FPS and this can get up to 60 FPS and you'll be fine. There's also your viewing modes down the bottom here, different smart modes. The thing I had on before was tracking, which you can activate by clicking down the bottom here or by tapping the camera like I did before. So that just turned it off. It shouldn't track me anymore. And then if I click or tap the camera itself, it's going to start tracking me again. I'll never get tired of this. Might be making you feel a bit sick though. So the next icon along here is whiteboard mode, which essentially allows this to snap onto any flat surface with recognition markers on it, usually a whiteboard. Here's one I prepared earlier. Funny story, we had a rent inspection today, and while this does come included with 4 recognition marker stickers that you can stick on your whiteboard yourself, I've lost them in the midst of the rent inspection. They were on my desk this morning, now they are not, and I cannot for the life of me find them. Luckily, you can get the image and actually print them out yourself, and it does work. So not all is lost, but yes, as you can see, it's currently in tracking mode still, but if I do a little V sign or peace sign, it'll start searching for the whiteboard, and then it should snap onto it just like that. And hey, I'm still here. The really cool thing I like about this is it's actually flattened against those recognition markers. So even though this is at a bit of an angle, like there's my face, even though this is at a bit of an angle, it's flattened out the image a little bit. So I can start writing on here like, hi, hit, wow, left-handed people should not be allowed to use whiteboards. Hi, hit subscribe. Subscribe. That says subscribe. Like this video, even if it's dragging on too long already. That's a thumbs up. Now, if I go V again, there we go, and snaps back to me, and then it continues tracking, which is really cool. So I can just move through the space as long as it can keep seeing my face. Hit V like this, searches for the whiteboard, snaps on there. You can move the whiteboard after the fact, and it'll stay on this flat image. See how it's kind of flattened out the cameras there? Yeah, that's whiteboard mode. How cool is that? There's also overhead mode. We actually have to mount this over the top of whatever you're trying to point it at. Otherwise, it just records the base of the Insta360 itself. I actually prefer the fourth option, desk view mode. It's probably just going to show you my keyboard. But yeah, basically this allows you to point the camera at your desk. You can see how much of Rusty's fur is in my keyboard here. I have a feeling it's actually doing a little bit of computational stuff to flatten this out a little bit. So like that looks, it's a little bit of an angle, but it looks almost completely flat. That's really cool. I think that there's a lot of use for that. If you're not willing to set up two cameras, you can kind of use this as two different cameras. So let's turn this back on. Also down here, you might notice the preset position mode. So basically you can set the camera to point wherever. So let's point it up at this picture here. Took this in Albany, my hometown, while the sun was rising. Beautiful. My house is just down the street from this, the house where I grew up in. But let's, you're not here for this. Let's preset that as position 2. And then let's go back, zoom out, and then let's put this back on my face. So I can basically set up a room. Oh wait, let's set this as a preset. So basically you could like set up a room with a bunch of different preset spots, and then you can be like, hey, Toby here, do you want to see a picture I took while I was in Albany? And then I click position 2, boom. How cool is that? And then back to me, boom. It's so fast as well. I'm not a streamer, but I'm fairly certain a streamer could come up with some pretty awesome ways to use this camera, and I love that. Boom. Straight to the goose. Boom. Straight back to me. I could do this all day. This is a fun product. It's expensive. It's a webcam. I haven't had fun with a webcam ever, probably. So like, I'm loving this. Thank you, Insta360. If we jump over to the image settings, this is the sort of stuff you'd see on a lot of regular webcam sort of apps. You've got auto exposure, white balance, and your brightness, contrast, saturation, and sharpness. And then you can save those as presets as well. I find the auto exposure to be pretty decent. I feel like this is a tad dark. I'd probably bump it up like half a stop, maybe 1 stop. What do you reckon? Maybe a bit bright, maybe bump the contrast up. Could make it a bit warmer, maybe something like that, just to get my skin tone a bit warmer. But it is, like the light is kind of cool in here. So again, the auto white balance and auto exposure on this is actually pretty decent. And finally, if we jump into image settings, this is kind of where it gets cool and super lame. I've been using this for the last few weeks, and I haven't found a time where it's felt appropriate to use gesture controls. Maybe if you're not on camera, but if you are on camera, you don't want to be doing this. You don't want to be turning on auto tracking, which doesn't always work. There we go. Imagine being on a Zoom call and you're just like, someone will be like, yes, Toby, what is it? What, do you have a question? No, I don't have a question. I'm just trying to get my my AI camera to track me. I mean, no one's going to put up with that. People will hate you. The other thing, I mean, you can see them all here. You've got zoom. So again, don't do this in Zoom calls, but you can zoom a little bit. So I've got it set to tracking speed slow. If we put it on fast and then activate tracking mode with the gesture, it's actually whipping around a lot quicker. But this is really upsetting to watch, especially if someone's like just moving around the space. Like it's actually tracking my gait as I walk around. It's cool that it's keeping up. What can I say? If I run out here. Yeah, all right. I managed to lose it. All right, it's stuck up here now. Back to position 3. Boom. Hello, I'm back. If we continue down the settings list, we've got single tap tracking, which I was using when I tapped this to turn the tracking on and off. Enable auto tracking allows you to track. Actually, if I manually adjust this to me, it should start tracking me now. There we go. Yeah. And now if I stop it with my gesture, stop. There we go. It's stopped. Now if I move over here and then flick it towards me, it's starting to track again, which is kind of cool. Kind of useful if someone's sitting behind the camera and occasionally having to switch between subjects. I do kind of like that. And if you're with somebody else, you can kind of flick it to them and make them the person in charge of the call. So another kind of minor, but still cool use case. If we jump over to AI zoom, this basically keeps certain levels of zoom as much as possible. So if we go whole body, here we go, whole body. There we go, yeah. So it's going to try and keep my whole body in shot as much as possible. If I switch it to head, maybe I'll be here. It's going to zoom in as much as possible when I'm walking around. Yeah, so now it's going to try and stick to my face instead of my entire body. Setting it to half body is good. I actually prefer to keep this one off. I found that it's just fine to keep it zoomed out as much as possible and stand fairly close to the webcam. Other options, we've got autofocus and manual focus. No idea when you would use manual focus on a webcam, but there you go, you can. There's also streamer mode down here, which allows the camera to sit up vertically so you can record for stuff like TikTok or make YouTube shorts with it. You don't have to do anything to the camera yourself. It'll actually use the gimbal to prop it up on its side by itself, which is really cool. I kind of wish you could just do that by clicking the button here, but you actually need to go set it up in a separate piece of software, whatever you're streaming with, like OBS, in order to do that. Don't know why, but it does work. So yeah, go check out my YouTube short on how that works, or go to my TikTok to see it in action. There is smart adjustment, which basically lets the camera find the best shot for your face whenever you turn it on, if you're happy for it to pick the shot for you. There's HDR, which I probably will never use, and there's mirror image, which basically allows you to set it as a mirror rather than as a webcam shot. So there is one more batch of secret little settings I want to show you, and that's because it unlocks a lot of the creativity and power behind this camera, especially for people who are doing this live on stream. Yeah, it's hotkeys. Essentially, this allows you to activate many of the settings we just talked about before on your keyboard. So if you look through the list, you've got stuff like tracking and overhead mode and desk view mode, whiteboard mode, but you can also do the preset positions that we put in. So if I go Option 2 or Alt 2 on a Windows keyboard, look at that. It snaps over, it snaps over to the picture that we set up before. If I go back to position 1, it's me being tracked again. How cool is that? So imagine a streamer, for example, pre-programming a bunch of these positions, programming it into their stream deck, and then basically being able to switch the camera on the fly as needed during a live stream. I think that's really cool and a really good use of this camera. The one thing I don't like about the hotkeys is they're all locked to these, so you can't actually change the options here. You have to use Option, Alt, Option 1, or it'll be Alt on a Windows computer. That's kind of annoying. Hopefully they fix that in an update. But thankfully, a lot of keyboards or something like the Stream Deck does have macros, so you can just program these into that and then just use the keys. Like something like the G's on this keyboard here. You could pre-program all those to do stuff and you'd be sweet. So yeah, hotkeys. Hotkeys, big fan. So those are all the settings. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of all the things that you can do with this webcam beyond just having it as a webcam. It's essentially like a little camera person standing behind your webcam, moving it around and positioning it wherever you want. You can set it up before you shoot something, but you can also control it while you're shooting, which makes this really versatile and really useful for a lot of scenarios. That $500 plus price tag is really hefty, but I think if you've watched this and you've thought, oh, actually, yeah, I do need a camera for both my desk and my face, or yeah, I do have multiple cameras around this space when I'm streaming, maybe you could distill it down to one camera that follows you around. For something like that, I think it is really useful and well worth picking up. I'm definitely going to keep this around for my own purposes. Look, I don't think this has a huge market. It's certainly not for everyone, especially when you consider the price. If you're getting a webcam for Zoom calls, for example, don't buy this. This is just going to get really annoying. Like, it is very distracting having someone walking around a room in a Zoom call while everyone else's cameras are static. Like, everyone will look at you, especially if you start doing the hand gestures. So maybe it's not for you. Oh. No, I think the people who want this most are teachers and people who do online workshops. For you, the ability to track you when you're walking around the room, the ability to look down at your desk with just the press of a button, and the ability to do the same thing with a whiteboard and switch between that and yourself, that is going to be really valuable if you're trying to do more content to more people online with engaging video. This thing allows you to basically just learn the software, and as I've shown, it's fairly simple to pick up. Learn the software and then just start making content and teaching people what you want to teach. I think this is perfect for that sort of thing. And hey, if you're doing that, maybe you work for a school, maybe they're willing to foot the bill. If after watching me screw around with this camera for 15 to 20 minutes, you've decided, yes, I actually think this is exactly what I need, you're in luck. I've left a link below in the description directly to the Insta360 website where you can buy it from them. And it's currently on sale, at least until the end of June 2023. So if you're watching this when the video goes out, you've got until the end of the month to save a little bit of money on this webcam. How good is that? You're saving money by watching YouTube videos. Hey, hit subscribe. Hit subscribe if you want to keep saving money, because I do that for you very occasionally. Actually, here's another tip. If you look a little bit lower, you might notice the tripod kit. That comes with pretty much everything the standalone kit does, which also includes those recognition markers I lost and a USB-C cable. The tripod kit just comes with this plastic tripod as well. For the extra amount of money they're asking for, I don't think it's worth it. I reckon maybe go to Amazon instead. Did I just turn the... I just turned tracking off by putting my hand up slightly. That is a negative out of this thing. You can't use your hands too much. There we go, it's turned back on. Okay, all right. So you do have to be aware of those things. Good to find that out at the end of the video. But yes, this tripod kit, you get this cheap plastic tripod. It's telescopic, so you do have some range with like how you can mount the camera. It also turns into, oh my God, there we go. It also turns into a GoPro mount, so you can stick your GoPro on this if you've got one. The amount of money they're asking for this though, it's a little bit much. So maybe hold off buying the tripod kit when this is the only other thing that it comes with. Maybe head to Amazon or something to find something cheaper. I'll leave some options in the description below. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go. This video has gone on for far too long. I'm gonna try and escape this ridiculous AI camera. Goodbye. Don't ever find me down here. I'm safe.